So we had some breaking news, which we knew we were going to have all winter, some kind of breaking news about golf, LIV Golf, whatnot. It appears that LIV Golf is currently searching for a replacement CEO for Greg Norman. I want to feel good about this, but I want to see how you guys feel first. Cheech, what do you feel like Greg Norman's legacy if he never appears again on a LIV event and never does anything more for LIV outside of like some advisory role and take some pictures every once in a while? How do you feel his legacy is going to be remembered?
Is good. I mean, look what he start. Look what he helped start. He helped start a separate golf entity from the PGA Tour that is turning out to be pretty amazing, and that's going to top of the PGA Tour one of these days. Even if he's still not in the CEO role of it, he's still going to be on in some kind of role, and he will have a legacy of the guy who brought Brooks, Bryson, Phil, and all these guys that helped, go into the future.
For sure, he is the guy who made LIV, if you want to call it, made LIV what it is, like the players guy or whatnot. But he gets a lot of flack. He gets a lot of flack anyway for his playing career, right? Because never really could finish the job even when he was the best golfer in the world, he could never truly win. So I'm sure people are going to pile on him here and be like, just like Greg Norman, can't get the job done, sort of.
I don't know how people can say that. He did get the job done. It didn't fail after the first season. You know what I mean? It's going somewhere and it's continuing to grow. I don't know how people, and yes, you're going to get the people that are going to pile on because they just don't like it.
Right. Jerome, do you have in your limited golf experience? So you don't know Greg Norman as a player. You've probably seen his clothing line. You may have seen some highlights of him with his weird ass hat or something like that, or his pics with his, 12-inch Australian dong on the beach. Do you have a Greg Norman moment in your head from LIV?
I think the big thing for me for Greg Norman was that they picked someone who wasn't afraid to step out. I mean, from everything that I know about the PGA, my experience so far is that it's run by a bunch of business guys, right? But like LIV was different because it was a former pro that was the head of it. And I think that says something. That's like, it's like the NFL. Like you would think that the person that runs the NFL should be a former player instead of some executive dude, right?
You would think.
Meanwhile, you look at the UFL and XFL. One of the guys that runs it is The Rock, who, for better or worse, I mean, he played in college and he played.
I was gonna say, at least he played. Yeah.
Played in the NFL, so it may or may not be a bad example. But I think that it takes a lot to go from playing a sport to being in charge of it, starting an entire league. And I think it takes a lot of balls, and you need somebody who is unafraid to put themselves out there and not afraid to make a mistake. Things could have gone wrong. They didn't, but they could have gone wrong. And, I think that type of fearlessness, I think, is probably the thing that I'll take away the most from his career as far as I've seen, is that he was fearless in the idea that he was ready to do something where everyone else in, the top executive positions of other golf leagues wanted him to fail.
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. He's not actually leaving LIV Golf. He's likely just going to
He's not going to be the CEO. He's just going to be a board member of some sort.
So definitely involved in some way in the league, but probably not as forward as he's been. So that leads me to, do we maybe need to eat some crow here? We might have to, or at least me personally. So if you go back like a year ago when they announced this framework, whatever agreement, is that a year? It must be 2 years almost. Almost 2 years, a year and a half ago, they announced this framework deal. And one of the things that came out that I haven't watched back our tape, but I'm sure I squashed it immediately, was Tiger Woods saying, if anything's going to happen, Greg Norman has to go. Like the first move that has to make is Greg Norman has to go. And as much as I say all the time, like I'm anti-Tiger, and it's mostly because Tiger's anti-player and he's anti-golf and he's anti-golf fan. That's just the way his personality is. But you have to say he built himself up to be a almost billionaire, lost it all, and then rebuilt his brand back up to almost becoming a billionaire again. So he's not a terrible business person. At least his image and his likeness has provided him a second chance for sure. And we all know that he is key to making any kind of agreement where players can move back and forth between the two because he holds so much power in the PGA Tour. I'm wondering if this this big change in role for Greg Norman, if it does happen this way, is some kind of signal that where Liv is about to make a concession now. We talked about how Liv just broke up the PGA Tour, went in full throttle, grab Brooks, grab Bryson, grab Rahm, grab whoever they wanted and make their league, and just kind of was like, all right, PGA, you could just go fade away. But maybe cooler minds in the boardroom have prevailed, a business side to this, obviously. And it's like, all right, if it's just the fact that Tiger and his boys are mad about Greg Norman being put on the same pedestal as they are, then we just move Greg to a different position and we can get this thing done. There's a part of me that thinks that. And that's maybe conceding that Tiger Woods is going to be a part of whatever coexistence. Cheech, what do you think? Coexistence through Tiger with Greg off to the side.
I just think they might not want such a polarizing figure to lead, maybe, because he is very polarizing. I mean, they said he's done anything wrong that they would want him to, or I mean, is it just they're just looking for somebody new?
Yeah, the report, I mean, we wouldn't want to call it a rumor. The report is that they're hiring two C-level, so a new CEO, a CRO, and a C something else, a bunch of chief executive positions within the league, which is great because that means the league has started to work towards their long-term plan. They likely got investors ready, to explode this process rapidly over the next few months or whatever. But the word is like they've already interviewed and somebody's already turned down the CEO job. I think it was the commissioner of the Big 12 football league or something like that. Like they've interviewed people within sports now. People who have, sports history on their side where they've worked with large leagues or things like that, which Greg Norman doesn't have, right? He just doesn't. I mean, he's run a clothing company. He's done great with that. And he's represented golf well always throughout his career. So cool. But when you're trying to turn your couple $1 billion investment into a couple more billions of dollars, right, you need to have some kind of business side to this thing. I can't always just be funneling money in, and just letting it piss away into nothing. Like, you got to answer to somebody at some point. And I think that like the role for Greg is certainly going to change from out front, like you said, to somewhere around a boardroom or something like that. He won't be the face anymore, and this kind of restructuring of that side of LIV Golf is going to be interesting without Greg for sure. I don't know. What do you like? Do you think that Greg Norman's the type of guy who could even sit on the sideline?
I think he's a professional.
I think he's gonna have a heart.
No, my take is that he's a professional. He knows that if he wants this to succeed, he needs to play a part of it and not fuck it up, I guess. But I could be wrong.
I still see him being in all the tournaments and doing stuff. I think he should still be in all the tournaments like he was, and do keep that function of his job going. I think would be something good for LIV to have him do.
But Cheech, you mentioned like maybe Tiger doesn't want him at the events. Tiger doesn't want him to be a representative of this new golf going forward where they can move back and forth potentially between tours, leagues, whatnot. So if this is some kind of peace offering to Tiger, I mean, we really could have seen the last of Greg Norman standing out there holding the flag for Bryson on par 3.
I think that would just, in all honesty, I think.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a good thing. Obviously, I'm rooting for Greg to be on the broadcast he's always brings something good to the broadcast. He always keeps it entertaining. The John Robb with the bomber jacket, like all these crazy things. Like you're just waiting for him to like spray paint NWO on the fairway or something like that every single week. So anyway, I mean, I guess we have to kind of it's like wait and see, obviously. But where there's smoke, there's usually fire, and especially with a reputable source like Sports Business Journal, like they know what's going on and they have their kind of legit sources. So there's going to be lots of rumors and lots of things that aren't true that come out. But I think this is one thing that we can kind of see like, all right, LIV is trying to move towards a more structured. They hired a new communications director. They're expanding tickets, their ticket department. They're, clarifying the rules about, relegation and captains and adding a special committee to try to keep people in the league that may fall into relegation, like things like that. Like they're really trying to hone in and not kind of fly by the seat of their pants like they've been doing for the first 3 seasons of their existence. And so maybe Greg being the guy who was taking all the heat because he's taken heat his whole life, like put him out there for these first 3 years. Maybe that was the plan the whole time, and just have him be kind of this magnet for negativity so that the negativity wasn't about the golfers on the golf course. It didn't really work because the golfers got shredded too. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. TGL is around the corner. You guys are gonna watch?
It's
I'm not.
football season,
I know.
so
I know. It's gonna be playoff football season when they tee off. If you can call that teeing off, hitting into a screen. I don't really. I still don't think that league is gonna start. I know that ESPN has a contract. I know that they have all these teams. They have TV deals. God, it sounds so crazy that people are gonna watch someone hit the ball into a screen. It sounds too wild to me. But I guess people will do it.
As the person that watches the most golf on this podcast, I am not going to watch that. I'm sorry. I'd rather watch Asian Tour obscure women's senior golf than I would watch that.
I mean, you're probably not alone. I don't think the audience that they're looking for is the traditional golf fan anyway. So, and that's you. They're not looking for you to watch. They're trying to find new fans, and they're probably looking for the people who watch like cornhole, or you know what I mean, like that kind of. I think.
I mean, I think a demographic that they're really going for is sports bettors,
Okay.
right? Because
Live betting. Okay.
right. So, I mean, that's become a multi-billion
Yeah.
dollar industry now, right? And, we're not talking about a bunch of guys that nobody knows, right?
Right.
All these guys are,
At least have a name. Yeah.
they're professionals that degenerate gamblers have gambled on before. So it just gives them another opportunity to make money, quote unquote. I think that's a demographic they're going for. And more often than not, people that are putting their money on something are going to want to watch it to see it through.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong that degenerate gamblers will bet on anything, especially if they've already lost money on that thing. That is the biggest draw for a degenerate, is to try to win back that money they lost.
Right. And they're going to want to watch it to see what happens. So I think that's a demographic that they might actually be going for at the same time. So
I'm going to watch to root against it. I'm going to watch out of spite. I'm like most people watch our show. I'm going to watch it like people watch our show. I'm going to watch it for them to mess the whole thing up 100%. All right. Speaking of money, I saw in our group chat, I have my phone on the charger, but apparently we're looking for donations. What are we looking for donations for, Cheech?
We're looking for, well, not for myself, but for Mac and I had the pleasure of playing with the head coach of the RPI men's golf team yesterday. And doing a golf. They're redesigning their golf bag, and they're looking for donations, and they're going to give away some golf bags, some golf gear, and some logo balls. So Matt's a great guy. He's a great golfer. We shot 56 yesterday, the four of us. Yeah, we played really well and won the outing we were in yesterday. It was fun. So Matt's a great guy. His team can use help. It helps them with their travel. I'll send you the link as well. If you guys want to help out, that'd be outstanding.
Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, RPI. I only know that because when I was up in Albany.
Correct.
They have.
Correct.
I gotta shout this out. I don't know if they still do it. I went to an RPI hockey game one time. The most amazing thing ever that they ever did. They hand you the school newspaper when you walk in. So everyone has a newspaper. Literally every single person has a newspaper when you walk in. And they do when they announce the the roster, starting lineup, whatever for the opposing team. Everyone opens up their newspaper. It gets dead quiet. No one acknowledges the players coming out to the ice for the other team. And then when they announce them, they're like, at center, number 28, John Logan. And the whole crowd goes, who cares? And then they flip the page. It's awesome. RPI hockey is awesome. And they have this weird, because they're all nerds. So, whenever they score a goal, they chant Civ, 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 you're a Civ, or something like that. Like some kind of weird, hockey goalie chant thing. I hope they still do. I don't know. That was 20 years ago.
I'll ask Matt. He'll probably know.
Yeah, so shout out RPI Golf. Sweet. If you guys want to help out RPI. Cool school. Sounds like Matt's a good dude. So he's one of the 54 golf gang now. Played with us. Played with you guys. He's in.
Yes, he is.
So we'll put the link in this thread.
He spent his car ride home listening to us yesterday. So
Poor guy.
now I feel really
I will donate at least $1, Matt, because that's rough.